England's ODI cricket has finally been dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. In the first ODI against the Democratic People's Republic of Macalamania, England's batsmen sent the records tumbling like a troop of Italian centre-forwards in a controversial penalty box. Root and Buttler hit centuries of equal but contrasting brilliance. Captain Owen Morgan hit a crucial 50 and Big Stephen Finn was in the wickets, raising the question: where are all these guys during the World Cup? Why is it only now that they have been allowed to play? Rashid, of course, fresh from keeping himself fresh on England's tour of the West Indies, where coincidentally Bollywood legend Shah Rukh Khan has bought a stake. Fair enough, even mega celebrities get hungry. He's bought himself a stake in the Caribbean Premier League franchise, the Trinidad and Tobago Red Steel. He follows Hollywood celebs Jarrod, Butler and Mark Wahlberg in owning shares in CPL teams. Wahlberg, of course, notoriously a massive cricket fan, grew up in Boston, USA in the 1980s, where, of course, he built what remains Massachusetts' largest temple to the Notts and England off-spinner Eddie Hemmings. Butler, meanwhile, reportedly in talks to play Adam Voges in the inevitable big-budget biopic of the superannuated century-making Australian debutant, who became the oldest man to make a test ton on debut since the former North Korean dictator Kim Jong-il claimed to have scored 1,203 in a test against the West Indies in 1988 to go with his golf round of 38 under par. Vin Diesel lined up to play umpire Richard Kettleborough, and Scarlett Johansson reportedly, quotes, very interested in playing David Warner. And in retirement news, injury has forced two England wicketkeepers to hang up their gloves, pads, helmets, boxes, bats, sledging lexicons and anything else a keeper batsman uses in the modern game. Matt Pryor and Craig Keyswetter have had to bid a premature farewell to the game, whilst the oldest man ever to make an ODI 100, Khurram Khan of the UAE, has bid a post-mature farewell just a few days short of his 44th birthday. Quitter. I'm 40, I will never rule myself out of contention for England. I'll do a job. Not a good job, but a job nonetheless. And finally, following the release of Chris Lewis after 6 years in jail, the British government is under increasing pressure to stand by its manifesto commitment to keep one former England all-rounder in jail at all times. A source within the Home Office has confirmed to Two Men Out that Derek Pringle is currently being framed for 12 unsolved burglaries in the Northamptonshire area during the 1930s. That is all the news for this week.
So, England in the first ODI, Doc. What went right? What are you too overcome for words by the sheer bashing beauty of it?
Frederick, I am merely mourning the death of my cricket. England cricket, the proper and right kind of cricket.
How?
For generations, while Rome burned, Elvis danced and they invented Pop-Tarts, English cricket maintained its turgid, stoic state. We may have won, we may have lost, but we have always been England. But this...
What, attacking, exciting cricket?
Yes, just doesn't seem quite right. I fear the apocalypse. Did Chris Tavare die in vain?
He's not dead.
The point stands.
Mr. Srinivasan once said to me that the BCCI was not an ogre. The BCCI does have this reputation of being kind of brutal. The BCCI, like the great cricket boards before them, Cricket Australia, who was still playing South Africa years after everyone else had pretty much given up playing sport against them, and the MCC, which wouldn't allow women members into the late 90s and didn't like captains of low class, have done everything they can to kind of make cricket just a little bit less encouraging, a little bit less friendly, and a little bit less nice. Mr. Dalmia has come into cricket. He's a different kind of leader than what Mr. Srinivasan was. He's brought in Rahul Dravid, cricket's favourite uncle, as the under-19s coach. He's given Sachin Tendulkar a job that no one really understands, but it's so nice to have Sachin Tendulkar, you know, with a job. Who wants him unemployed? And most importantly, he's given Ravi Shastri the role of coach, which will allow every single Indian cricket fan on earth to blame him for everything that goes wrong. Off the field, Dalmia has done even more. He's brought in Haroon Lorgat. It wasn't that long ago that if you saw Haroon Lorgat in an IPL game, it means someone had cut off his head and put it on a spike out the front of the ground. Now, he was just there, just enjoying the game. Next to him was Mustafa Kamal. Let's not forget, Mustafa Kamal was given one job. one job by the ICC, that was to give the trophy to the World Cup winning teams. Mr. Srinivasan took that job. Now he's at the IPL. There are all these people that everyone else at the BCCI was getting rid of, and this new BCCI, this lovely BCCI, is just bringing them in and giving them a warm embrace. Women, if you can believe it. Women in cricket in India are getting contracts. I mean, they were on the IPL coverage, which is still kind of weird, being that there were cheerleaders behind them, but they were on the IPL coverage, and now women cricketers are getting contracts. Who does not want to live in a world where Mithali Raj, who is more talented than Stuart Binney, isn't paid a fraction of his wage? Nepal might be the most cricket-mad nation on earth, but India and the BCCI pretty much ignored them for ages. Then, bad things happen in Nepal. You read the news, you'll be able to catch up on that. Google it if you haven't. But now, the BCCI is helping out Nepal cricket. They're getting out there and they're supporting a cricket team that in no way can bring them $1 billion bilateral agreement, that can not help them in the World Cup, that can not help them in any way, in geopolitical way. Nepal is just unhelpful in every way, yet this cuddly BCCI is on their side. The BCCI is still a cricket board, so this can still go horribly wrong. I mean, it's a cricket board, horribly wrong. But for the first time in a very long time, the BCCI is cuddly. They're nice. If you see a BCCI in a while, go up, give it a little cuddle. It may not bite you.
David White, the CEO of New Zealand Cricket, has said this: "We are exploring the possibility of having the best of both worlds. 5 tests over the summer against Australia, 3 away, 2 at home, together with the revival of the Chappell-Hadley one-day series on a sustainable basis."
David White, there is no world in which a Chappell-Hadley series is the best of anything. It's the only one-day tournament between Australia and New Zealand, and it's still not the best one-day tournament. For those who don't know about the Chappell-Hadley trophy, that's because you're human, to start with. Essentially, it is a limited overs, limited interest faux trophy between 2 teams that no one even cares. They haven't played this series in 5 years. That's how little people care about it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of, well, Hadley or what is a Chappell?
Well, it's based after Trevor Chappell and
Trevor Chappell.
Barry Hadley. Do you remember Barry Hadley?
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah, and they came up with this name to make it nice. The whole idea was Australia and New Zealand were going to play each other every year. They don't. The last 2 times this has been played, it's been in a World Cup when the ICC has forced them to play, and they've just gone, well, while we're here, why don't we just trade the trophy around?
Well, there seems to have been a kind of bit of beef between Australia and New Zealand cricket pretty much since the beginning of humanity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And since before.
Ever since they stiffed us and they didn't join the, Australia proper, which
Right.
they obviously should have, and all the Sheffield
It's never
Shield.
too late, New Zealand. It's never too late.
Yeah, they would have won a couple of Shield titles by now. What have they won? Nothing.
David White went on to say, but on the back of the success of the Cricket World Cup.
I was going to stop you there, Mr. White. Essentially, the World Cup is a $1 billion, once every 4-year tournament where people from around the world are very interested. The Chappell-Hadley trophy has one other team in it, and you can't even convince them to play in it. No one cares about this. No one cares about bilateral ODI series in general. No one cares about them when you give them a trophy name. It doesn't make any difference at all. Essentially, what should be happening is the test match would give you 2 extra days of Brendan McCullum. Who does not want 2 extra days of Brendan McCullum? Why at New Zealand cricket would you not want that?
Maybe you've developed an allergy to slips. I don't know.
There's too many attacking fielders.
Yeah, possibly.
Give the people what they want. Give them a test match. Don't give them this nonsensical one-day tournament because the World Cup did well. The summer before the World Cup, people loved New Zealand just as much when Brendan McCullum was making 300. He's going to make 300 against Australia. It's pretty much a fact already.
Over 5 test matches?
Yeah, 6 test matches if they listen to us.
Yes. But what I want to know, Jarrod, is they've got these 5 or 6 test matches split into 2 series. Why not just, basically back-to-back, why not just consider it 1 5-match series? There's always a complaint that there aren't enough long series in cricket. With modern travel, you're in the same hemisphere. Why is it not just 1 5-match series, albeit played in 2 different countries?
Because Cricinfo and Wisdom would have to change the format.
It would cause absolute havoc with Stats Guru, like tests played in neutral venues. Man, that does my head in.
It's the biggest problem facing cricket today.
Are you listening, Syria? We're suffering as well.
So, Doc, the Bangladesh-India test here in Fatullah. Think we've learnt any valuable lessons from this one?
Yes, a very valuable lesson. And that lesson is, do not, under any circumstances, no matter how tempting, schedule test matches for months that average over 300 millimetres of rain.
Was that a lesson that needed to be learnt?
Evidently, it was.
Well, at least they won't need to learn it again.
Or they will, in a few weeks' time, when South Africa are also due in Bangladesh for 2 tests and 3 ODIs.
What you mean right in the middle of the least sunny and, this is the key bit, most rainy time of the year?
Yes, then.
When it averages over 330 millimetres of rain per month?
Yes, well, technically, it's over 300 millimetres of precipitation. That figure does, of course, include snow.
Yes, Doc. Of course it does, but that's mostly rain, isn't it?
It's all rain, it's all rain.
And that's about the same amount of rain as Manchester gets in an entire summer.
Yes.
The Manchester known as the venue that I believe has lost more complete days of Test cricket to rain than any other Test ground.
Yes, that Manchester. So, fingers crossed. Still, not quite as bad as FIFA awarding the World Cup to a bit of desert.
That's it, Doc. Aim high.
So the big development in cricket this week, T20 game, Worcestershire versus Northants. Worcestershire took a look at this traditional cricket field and thought, we don't need this guy. The wicket-keeper was moved. No keeper. What does this mean for cricket? Well, I mean, for England, it could be a very exciting moment. I've seen England put 9 men on the boundary in a test match to the batting of Ryan Harris in a series they were 3-0 ahead in at the Oval a couple of years ago, but they kept a wicket-keeper in, and it's just tragic to think with hindsight. We could have been even more unremittingly negative than we were. Worcestershire have opened our eyes to this now. When England really go on the defensive from now on, expect the bowler to just chuck it in from the sight screen. This is the future, people. Sod this new dawn of aggressive English cricket. This is where we're going. The Indian inventors of the edgeless bat said they wanted to come up with a bat that resulted in fewer Indian batsmen being caught behind and caught in the slips. Well, let me tell you, we already had a bat for this. It's called this, the bat. It just needs to be used properly. Just a bit more practice is what's necessary, not messing around with the holy technology of cricket. Rocket science, I believe, is the next frontier in bat technology. As we see here, this is the prototype for the boom-bam-bastic cannon bat, which uses the projectile properties of rockets. For the batsman has to first this is the difficult bit. He has to get the ball down the nozzle of the rocket cannon bat, and at that point it will then be fired back into the crowd at high velocity using the technology used in cannons since medieval times. I don't know if that counts as rocket science, but it's a hell of a lot closer to rocket science than a bat that's basically cheating. How come, answer me this, how come tampering with the ball is somehow wrong, but tampering with the bat, anything goes? That's a worst form of hypocrisy.